On behalf of Weston Associates and Gruber, Hurst, Johansson, and Hale, we have filed a lawsuit on behalf of our clients against Wells Fargo, alleging several causes of actions that came as a result of an incident that occurred on September the 7th, September 7th, 2007. What occurred on that particular date is that Mr. Ewan and Mr. Rothus Saran ended up going to a location, Wells Fargo's location, in order to consummate a pre-arranged business transaction to purchase a car. Mr. Ewan was selling Saran his car. The bank was expecting them. They went to the bank. There were very few customers in the bank. They sat down at a bank teller's, a loan officer's desk, provided the loan officer personal identification, answered questions, got additional documents for the loan officer. During that time, one of the tellers there became suspicious and contacted Wells Fargo Security Company and ultimately the police department to assert that a bank robbery was in fact in progress. Gave the security and or the police department certain specific information saying that both Saran and Mr. Ewan were wearing sunshades, wouldn't take the sunshades off, and they thought that Mr. Ewan, an African-American male, had a gun. Another one of the loan officers or employees of the bank who had been in proximity to the transaction that was occurring, that being the loan transaction, knew exactly what was going on. He ultimately talked to the police, said that there was no robbery in progress and that he had had quote-unquote prior law enforcement experience, but still wanted them to send someone over because they looked quote-unquote suspicious. Now think about this. You've got an employee that's in proximity to where the transaction, the business transaction, is being consummated, knows no robberies in progress, but yet and still wants the police to come over. Now, we've attempted, let me go on and say what transpired after that is probably your worst nightmare as a customer going into a business establishment. Dr. Camille Lewis was out in a car awaiting Mr. Ewan with her daughter. When the police arrived, the police pulled guns on Dr. Lewis and also ordered her out of the car in the presence of her 4-year-old daughter. They handcuffed her, put her in a car, and ultimately allowed her access to her daughter. Subsequent to that, they decided to call Mr. Ewan, order him out of the bank. He crawled out of the bank on his belly, and I was told at gunpoint on the ground to stay down until they handcuffed him and set him up on the ground, I believe, at the sidewalk. Now, mind you, this is September in Texas, so the temperature was like 90-something degrees, and he's on concrete. They go into the bank, and Saran and his wife, Nita, are there. They order them on the ground and detain them also. Now, think about this. You have a situation where Wells Fargo's employees know that no bank robbery is occurring, but yet and still they persist with a lie that these individuals are suspicious. After the police secured the area and determined that there were no weapons, the audacity of the bank employees was, are you sure there were no guns on? Now you think about that. The only thing that our clients are guilty of is going into a bank and transacting business like all of us would do. We asked over the course of the last year, we've done some, before we filed this lawsuit today, we've tried to communicate with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo has yet to apologize for what transpired. The only thing that we've received from them is that they believe that their employees were correct in what they did, and that the police officers, if anything occurred, inferentially it may have very well been the results of police actions. And let me say this first of all, the Frisco police acted properly. They received a call from a business. They went out to that location. They had to prepare for exactly what was going on out there. And so they prepared for it. And then they de-escalated the situation after they went there and secured the scene, not Wells Fargo. And so we're holding Wells Fargo liable, not the Frisco police. The fact of the matter is that the Frisco police should be looking at filing a false report to a police officer as a result of those employees filing that information. We recognize through intensive pretrial investigation and discovery that there are different clips that some of which you'll be able to see, some of which you will not be able to see until the time of trial, in terms of surveillance cameras and things in the bank. All of that's under seal. But you do, in fact, and will, in fact, have access to the 911 tape, that's public record, and also the video that was shot by a passerby of Mr. Ewing coming out of the bank on his stomach and crawling towards the police officers. A passerby with a cell phone videoed it and took it and put it on YouTube.